Welcome to Gender Diversity. What are sex and gender? By the Rainbow Diversity Institute. We're a Black-owned company with lots of educators dedicated to creating educational things like this, as well as other great stuff, to help people move beyond surface, ineffective ways of looking at diversity into creating real social change. You can learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca. So, looking at sex and gender, this can be a confusing topic for a lot of people, especially because our understanding is evolving about this. We used to kind of think about sex and gender as just being sort of two words for the same thing. That was wrong then, and it's still wrong now. And definitely some people realized it wasn't right then, but the mainstream wasn't so much listening. Then we evolved to a larger cultural understanding that sex was about nature, the genetics, the anatomy, the biochemistry, while gender was about nurture, how we express ourselves, the cultural side of things. That was still wrong, although it was a step in evolving how we thought about it. And lots of people knew that it was still wrong, but the mainstream wasn't really listening. Now we're moving to a new understanding of sex and gender, which is that both of them are really complicated. There's probably nature, nurture, and other stuff in both of the words. And the words don't mean what we thought they did. Those understandings were incorrect. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Why can't it just be simple? Why can't sex just be about biology and gender just be about culture and expression? Well, biology and culture are both really, really complicated things that impact each other a whole lot, but also are their own things at the same time. One thing that's important to realize is that nature just doesn't like binaries in general. What does that mean? Well, nature doesn't like yes and no, on and off, this or that, only one thing or another. It's really difficult to come up with examples in nature that aren't more complicated than that. Even things like alive and dead. In what way? There's plenty of things inside my body that are alive when I'm alive, and plenty of things inside my body that would be alive when the me part of me is dead. There's a lot of complexities to it all, and it's not about trying to be overly picky to prove a point. It's about recognizing that things just aren't that simple, especially in nature. Additionally, we're all learning to do better, and that's part of why it isn't simple. There have been folks who have been doing a lot better about this for many generations, but generally were shamed, harassed, even killed for doing that. And now we're starting to learn to do better on a more mainstream, larger scale way. And learning to do better in all areas of life just isn't simple. It's hard, but it's worth it. But what if this still just doesn't feel right to you? Well, guess what? It's felt really wrong to lots of other people back when it felt right to you. Just because something doesn't apply to you or you don't need it doesn't mean it's not important. We know this about lots of different things. Just because you're not allergic to this thing doesn't mean that the hospital can use it on my body without finding if I'm allergic to the thing, right? Examples like that. So, as we move forward with our understanding, we recognize that just because something isn't important to us doesn't mean it isn't important. In fact, maybe it's extra important and we need to learn about it more because it doesn't come as intuitively to us because it isn't a part of our lives and struggles. Additionally, we can respect things that we don't understand. There's all sorts of stuff that I don't understand, but I recognize that it deserves my respect anyway, and I gain enough of an understanding to be respectful while I work on learning the most. We can go ahead and apply that here. We can learn as much as we possibly can, but also be respectful at the same time. We don't have to understand things 100% in order to respect them. And we definitely don't have to understand people 100% in order to be respectful of each other. Okay, but I don't like how delicate people are. What's up with all these snowflakes? Why is everybody soft and squishy? Toughen up, buttercup. Well, we're moving away from that kind of thinking. We're moving away from excusing the harm we cause others that doesn't need to be done. So we don't have to do the harm. We should stop doing it. We're moving away from that self-centered way of thinking that says, as long as I'm okay, everything's okay, which, by the way, is a really risky way of living life because as soon as you're not okay, you probably want other people to tend to you, take care of you, or at least stop making it worse for you. It just so happens that in this topic, you're one of the folks who's doing okay, it seems. We're also moving away from expecting others to be like us. This notion that my existence, my understanding, what matters to me must be the same for everyone else is deeply flawed. And regardless of what race or ethnicity we are, what genders we are, or anything else, it's tied to ideas around white supremacy. The notion that there's a norm, there's a better, and everything else should live up to that, regardless of what's going on in your life and what has before. We don't want that kind of thinking. It's antiquated, I hope, and is extremely harmful to everybody, including ourselves. So we might feel like other people are being delicate, but in fact, this discomfort that we're feeling is about us expanding and learning and growing and having the opportunity to do better and deciding whether we're going to use that opportunity or whether we're going to keep harming others. Okay, you convinced me I want to learn. Great. So start by doing your own research. There's a ton of great stuff out there by our institute and lots of other folks about how to do better in these ways and others. We don't have to go asking individuals to be our educators in the midst of them going about their own life. There are people already putting this information out into the world and making it available. Go find them and respect them. That can include with thank yous, with paying them appropriately, and with helping to share their positive quality information. We can also listen more than we talk. That's part of learning. When we're distressed, we often want to speak up, but sometimes we have to sit with that discomfort as a part of learning. So let's practice listening more than we speak. We need to remember to keep growing. We never get to the place where we've got it all figured out. I wish we did. That would be really great. When I was a kid, I thought that was being an adult. Now I know that being adult means that we're humble, we recognize that we keep making mistakes and keep growing, and we keep putting effort into being better each day than we were the day before. We hope this was helpful for you. This was Gender and Diversity. What are sex and gender? And I invite you to learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca. Thanks.